Hello, my name is Jacob Rubio, and throughout this presentation, I will be going over my experiences in Hort 120 with DynaScape, an industry-specific design software. I will also be comparing and contrasting it with AutoCAD, the previous software learned in this class. During this presentation, I will hone my focus on the major tools that are provided in the software and how I use them to effectively create my landscape design. The next tool that I found to be instrumental in creating a landscape design was the polyline tool. This function gave us the ability to create segments of lines that were automatically grouped together in the model space. After the lines were created, an interesting aspect of DynaScape was that you were able to adjust them using the grip edits, which are the points on the line that allow you to pull the line in any direction. We used these in order to make the necessary arcs for the drawing. This I feel was a significant improvement over the AutoCAD's arc tool, because it made the process of creating arcs much more efficient. Another aspect of this tool was the close polyline, which would create a closed and complete figure connecting the last point to the first when desired with a simple right click. We used this function to create many different elements of the drawing, and it especially helped with making the hatch boundary. Unlike AutoCAD, the DynaScape's hatch tool only sees inputted lines as boundaries to a hatch pattern, not inserted figures such as the table over the hatch pattern. To get around this, we used a polyline in order to create an outline of the image, which is called a hatch boundary, so that the hatch pattern would not go over the table as well. Just like in AutoCAD, DynaScape has a layer function in order to make the drawing more organized while also making it easier to visualize each individual aspect of the drawing. DynaScape comes with a pre-made list of layers such as temp, building, base, or property. This function also gives you the ability to add your own custom layers as you see fit. In our drawing, we added a house layer in which all the elements of the house, including the doors and windows, were on. Each of these layers has an assigned color. This makes it easier for the designer and customer to visualize the diagram. This program has two color options. These are the in and out functions, which represent how the colors will appear in the program. First of which being the in function, which represents how the colors will appear in the actual model space, in relation to the colors when printed, which are represented by the out function. The next concept I will be discussing is the figures function of DynaScape. In the previous program, AutoCAD, we had to go to another site for this. However, this function allows you to insert an array of different objects and figures into the drawing without having to leave the program. I believe that this function is the biggest difference between AutoCAD, because rather than using the circle tool and others to symbolize trees and shrubs, we were actually able to insert figures of them to make a more realistic picture for the viewer. We also use this function to insert more complex images, such as tables and lounge chairs. When inserting these figures, DynaScape allows you to modify the size and orientation of the object. This is done by a simple 4-click process, first of which allows you to rotate the object, followed by the option to adjust its size, then by an optional skew, lastly a right click to confirm. Another interesting aspect of this feature is that when you place an object, DynaScape knows which layer to assign that to and automatically puts it in the correct layer, which saves time for the designer. The last feature that I will be discussing is the plant label tool. This tool allows you to go a step further in design by actually giving you the ability to label each plant for the customer. This is done by going through the vast plant list provided by the program and simply selecting the desired one and attaching it to the selected plant. In situations where there are multiple of the same plants, there are two ways to go about handling it. Both the auto count function and the manual count function are suitable options. Starting with the more straightforward, the manual count function is done by simply manually counting the plants and inserting that number into the function. The other option is the auto count. However, in order to do this, you have to use the cluster figures function under the command icons. The purpose of this function is to group different figures together, in our case shrubs, that have overlapping lines. This is done by simply selecting all of the desired figures and clicking that icon. Once you are done, you are able to insert a label on that group, and the program will automatically count the grouped figures for you. Using the plant list function, DynaScape gives you the ability to insert a table of all the plants that you used in the drawing. Program to be difficult to understand, and after using it for only a short while, I was able to effectively use the major functions being model space, polyline, layers, figures, and lastly plant labels. After having experiences with both programs, I found there to be many different similarities and differences between the two, AutoCAD and DynaScape. However, I found DynaScape to be the most effective program out of the two for creating landscape design.